Hello and welcome to Joy Newsroom. This bulletin is live on Joy News channel on YouTube, on all our social media platforms, as well as channel 421 on DSTV. My name is Maame Thompson. Coming up, some personnel of the Ghana Immigration on patrol duties of the Kumawu border attacked by some unknown persons who pelted stones at them, resulting in some injuries of 3 members of the team who are currently receiving treatment at a health facility. With just 2 days to the Kumawu By-Election, the governing New Patriotic Party is set to hold its final rally in the Ashanti region. We'll take you there live and hear the latest. And also in this bulletin, we'll explore the art and craft of emceeing. I am Maame Thompson. Please stay for details. And to our first story, some personnel of the Ghana Immigration on patrol duties at the Kumawu border have been attacked by some unknown persons who pelted them with stones. The attack resulted in serious injuries of 3 members of the team who are currently receiving treatment at the Ketu South Municipal Hospital. One bystander sustained injuries from a gunshot as the patrol team fired warning shots to disperse the crowd. The Ghana Immigration Service has a statement on this. Let us bring that to you now. We'll bring you that statement shortly, but let's go on the line now. Joining us is the head of Public Affairs of the Ghana Immigration Service, Superintendent Michael Amwakwata. You're welcome to Joy Newsroom, Mr. Atta. Can you help us understand exactly what happened on the day?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and good afternoon to your viewers. Like Indy clearly said, last Friday around 11 p.m., some unknown assailants used stones against our officers who were on patrol duty at a popular street known as Street 9, which normally is an unapproved route. So we placed officers there to protect the area against smugglers and what have you. And the stones were such that they tried dispersing them, but still they were throwing stones at the officers and some getting hit. So then they had to give warning shots to disperse the crowd, which yielded the positive result that we're looking for. And in that event, like I said, 3 of our officers were injured, including a bystander who also received some gunshots. The 4 have been treated at the Ketu Hospital, and currently as we speak, they have been discharged and home. And meanwhile, the command has set up an investigative team to look into the CCTV and to try to be able to identify the faces behind the attack. And interestingly, our Flow Command is one of the commands that we have very good cordial relationship with the community members, including the traditional leaders and some recruits. So we see this as very unfortunate in the line of duty. But then once we are there to prevent cross-border crime, definitely in part of the good community relations that we have, we may be stepping on 1 or 2 toes because our presence is inimical to their legal businesses. So we take that as part of the hazard that we take. But then, like management is saying, we are appealing to officers to remain calm and be resolute at the borders as we see what can be done to bring sanity back to the command.
Right. We also understand that other security agencies present at the time of the attack did nothing to help these officers. How true is that?
Yes, in fact, I know how to see things, but like I said, investigators will bring all these things out, and then the top priority will know what to do with the outcome of the investigation. So I'll plead that we wait for the report to come, and then our big men will track those issues out.
Right. What is the Immigration Service doing to prevent future attacks of this nature?
Yeah, so we are in touch with the community leaders, definitely these militants are in the community, and they will also be talking to their members. And then the command has also put up its duty. Again, I've been unapproved, and officers have been put into and have been put in the right frame of mind to be able to know how to contain it, to exact the result out of it. So we are on top of the job, and we know some of these things will happen.
We're grateful for your time here. Head of Public Affairs at the Ghana Immigration Service, Chief Superintendent Michael Amwakwata there. And moving on, NDC flag bearer John Mahama says the base of the NDC is energized and poised to win the 2024 general election. According to him, his recent campaign tour over all the 275 constituencies ahead of the party's presidential and parliamentary primaries pushed the members to redouble their efforts for victory in the next election. At a Thanksgiving service at the Ringway Gospel Center Assemblies of God Church, the former president called for hard work and unity among the party ahead of the polls.
In 2020, we went again for the election, and again, we lost. And again, we came here after the Supreme Court case, and we gave thanks to God for His mercy and in protecting us. And as I said, His ways, our ways are not His ways. But on hindsight, when I think about it, I believe that we owe Him a debt of gratitude that we didn't win in 2020. We would have been given these haircuts and all this IMF wahala. And He said, look, this is not the time, my children. You stand aside. And we know that He will make things well in His own time. So this is just the first step. We held primaries. Many people had said we don't need to waste resources so that we can apply those resources to the main election, and so I should be allowed to go unopposed and all that. And that's why when I gave my acceptance speech, I thanked my opponent, I thanked Dr. Dufo, and I thanked Mayor Kojobonsu for participating in the primaries, even though Dr. Dufo withdrew at the last minute when he saw that, it was going to be a tsunami. So, but if he hadn't filed and he was unopposed, it would not have compelled us to do the rounds that we did. And when we did those rounds and I saw our delegates and the excitement and the passion with which they came to the events that we went to, I think that exercise in going round really helped the party, because it had shaken the base of the party and prepared the party and made it ready for what we're going to confront in 2024. And so we thank God again for that our colleagues participated in the primaries.
And with just 2 days to the Kumawu By-Election, the governing New Patriotic Party is set to hold its final rally in the Ashanti region. Expected at the rally are some bigwigs of the party. Joining us now from the ground is our correspondent Ohiming Terrier. Ohiming, bring us to speed on what is happening currently.
Yes, Maame, here in the Kumawu constituency, today appeared to be the last day for political campaigning ahead of Tuesday's by-election. So all the candidates, be it independent or the political parties, are ramping up their political activities here in Kumawu. Perhaps beyond today, what they can only do is to do house to house or engage the electorates one-on-one. Behind me, you can see the stage is set for the New Patriotic Party's rally today in Kumawu. And I'm told the NDC equally is holding 2 rallies, one at Bodomase and then another also at Oyoko. The independent candidates, the Kwekudua, who contested the late MP, I learned is also holding a rally in one of the communities here, something that we are yet to confirm. But the second independent candidate, this is the first time I have seen his posters springing up in the constituency. I've seen some vehicles embossed with his posters in the constituency. And I can tell you security has also been beefed up in the Kumawu constituency as well. There are a lot of police presence, and I've seen a couple of military officers who are also providing security in the constituency. So from my point of view as a reporter, I will say that all the political parties and the candidates are gearing up for Tuesday's by-election. But one thing that remains significant is the fact that the Electoral Commission says it has been compelled to change the symbol of the one of the independent candidates for the Tuesday's by-election after the candidate Kwekudua failed to change his symbol that conflicted with another independent candidate, the one who contested in the 2020 by-elections with the former MP Philip Ebasua. So that has been the news here in the Kumawu constituency.
Well, Ohime, so with him refusing to change his symbol, does it come with some repercussions?
Yes, according to the Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Benjamin Banobio, there were arrangements for the independent candidates to change his symbol because, according to him, the CI 127 requires that Electoral Commission approve all the symbols used by political parties and that of independent candidates. So the Mr. Kwekudua, who contested the late MP in 2020, had his symbol in 2020 and that of the by-election approved by the Electoral Commission. And when the EC called on the independent candidate, the second one, Kwekudua, to change his symbol because it's conflicted with that of the first independent candidate, he reneged. And according to him, the first notice of poll that was circulated in the media is that of a draft, undertaken by the EC. That wasn't final. He says that was to allow the candidates to change or amend their symbols or their photos. That of the NDC candidate in the person of Kwesi Amankwa, he says change his photograph. But when the EC called on the second independent candidate to change his symbol, he refused. So in the last days, the EC was compelled to take a decision on this. And now Mr. Kwekudua, the second independent candidate who will appear on the ballot with all the contesting candidates, will have his symbol changed from a falcon to a hole. That is the decision of the Electoral Commission, and that is binding. So on Tuesday, when the electors in the Kumawu constituency goes to the polls to elect their member of parliament for Kumawu, they will see first on the ballot Ernest Yao Enim, followed by that of the NDC's candidate Kwesi Amankwa. Then we have Kwekudua, who they will see in the kente cloth with a dove as his symbol, and another Kwekudua who will also appear on the ballot with a hole as his symbol. So that the two Kwekuduas appear in kente cloth. That perhaps is what the electors have been complaining bitterly before the Electoral Commission took the decision to change the last independent candidate's symbol. They believe that it could be one of the political machinations to reduce the vote margin of Mr. Kwakudia, who contested the late MP and polled 11,600 and over votes in the 2020 elections. I have some of the New Patriotic Party supporters here jeering out for the rally. Let me find out from them how prepared they are. So you seem to be in high mode now. What is happening here?
Yeah, we are here to support our presidential candidate, which is Mr. Dr. Ernest Yawenim. We are rallying our support behind him to amass victory for him in the coming by-elections in Kumawu.
Okay, so it's good that you talk about the fact that you are supporting the MPP's candidates. Are you aware of a poll that just come out that the MPP candidate is likely to garner not less than 56%? How does it make you feel? How do you feel to have such a poll coming just 3 days to the elections?
Yeah, we trust that poll, and then we are very optimistic. But with God on our side, we are going to amass victory. Yeah, we trust that poll, that we are going to exceed even more than that 56% estimation.
So you think that he will register more than 56% of the votes? Sure. What makes you assume this way?
Oh, you can see the support, everything, the enthusiasm in the constituency at all, and then just passing the demise of our former president, parliamentary candidate, Mr. Philip Basua. So we are all optimistic. Yeah, we are amassing votes, and victory come Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's good. So these are some of the supporters here in the Kumawu constituency. Give us these high hopes that they believe that the NPP candidate will surely carry the day. You are a TESCON member, right?
Exactly.
Oh, I see. So why TESCON here? This is perhaps a contest in the Kumawu constituency and not for the outsiders.
Yeah, we are under MPP, and as we are the TESCON for Ashanti region constituency, so we are here to support, and we know that in all, we the TESCON members, we are the youth of the NPP, so we will help this constituency and this election, by election, we know that Mr. Yao Enim will win.
Check. All right, so Maame, that has been the euphoria here in the Kumawu constituency. Everybody, every Nick and Tom in the MPP is putting his or her weight behind the party to win this election. Very soon, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will mount the podium to canvass for votes for the New Patriotic member of parliament aspirant here in the Kumawu constituency.
Before you go, can you also brief up the mood among the opposition party, the NDC? What may be going on in their camp? What's happening there?
Yes, as I said earlier, the National Democratic Congress would hold two rallies, one at Bodomase and another at Oyoko. I learned that the NDC's national chairman, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, as well as the national general secretary will also be here. Don't forget, last Friday, former President John Dramani Mahama was here to lead the campaign for the NDC. So NDC is also well represented, and they are camped in Bodomase and Oyoko as they prepare for their rallies.
Very grateful. Ohim Interior will be coming to you later in the day for updates of what's happening in Kumawu. We're grateful for your time. Meanwhile, a poll conducted by the Global Info Analytics is predicting victory for the NPP candidate, saying he's taking a commanding lead in the election. The poll shows him leading his closest challenger by 56% to 17%. Let us show you the summary of the work now. Now, if you look at the executive summary that is presented on your screens, it says the closing poll for the Kumawu by-election shows the ruling party's candidate, Ernest Yawenim, taking a commanding lead in the polls 2 days before the by-election. Ernest Yawenim led his closest challenger, the independent candidate, by 56.5% to 16.8%. The main opposition NDC's candidate, Kwesi Amankwa, is in third position with 12.1%. Kwekudia, another independent, with 0.6% of votes. 8.7% of voters are undecided, while 5.4% say they will not vote. Also, when likely voters model is used, Ernest Yawenim is likely to obtain 66% of the votes, Kwekudua 20%, Kwesi Amankwa 14%, and Kwekudua 1%. And then the third point says approximately 36% of voters said they would likely be influenced by the late road projects being undertaken in the constituency. The poll found that 65% of voters who said they are likely to be influenced by the project intend to vote for Ernest Yawenim, and 61% of those said they are unlikely to be influenced also intend to vote for him. On the question of whether the government treated the late MP unfairly, only 26% of the voters agree, while 62% disagree and 12% did not have an opinion. Also, political observers believed the race will be tight as the late MP won his 2020 race marginally. Additionally, analysts believe that with the current economic crisis, voters could be given a bloody, nose with pot treat to its slim majority in Parliament if the seat is lost. Now, joining us via Zoom is pollster and head of global research at Global Info Analytics Limited, Musa Dankwa. Musa, I mean, it's an interesting poll, but can you please shed light on? It seems there's already a majority, following a name on this on this research, and why do you think that?
Right. Thank you very much for having me. I think it's very clear that the voters have been influenced by the late work that the government was doing there. If you look at the number of people who said they were going to be influenced by it, about 36%, of which 65% said they would vote or they will intend to vote for the NPP's candidate. If you translate that, it comes to about 23% of all voters who are going to vote for the NPP candidate purely on the basis that they've seen some projects being done there.
What does this say for the other candidates? I mean, should this also always be the trend where there's some form of development going on to influence voters, or there are other issues or aspects of this campaign that is influencing their decision to vote for Mr. Yawenim?
Right. Again, if you look at the historical record of MPP in the constituency, especially in 2020, they had different candidates in the person of Honorable Baswa, the late. Now, he may be a different person from Yawenim in terms of style and personality. In fact, in October, when we interviewed people in the constituency, about 74% of them said they were floating voters. This time around, 72% said they are now MPP voters. So probably the former MP didn't enthuse them, and that this current MP is having some kind of magic wand and doing something that the other guy couldn't do. On what they can do, it's not too late. These are the polls and views of voters as at yesterday. We've indicated in the polls areas that each candidate is doing well or is doing worse. What they could do is to pick the polls, look at the electoral areas that they are doing poorly, target those areas, and mount a heavy campaign there that could boost their numbers. The polls are always polls. What matters is what happens on election day.
Is going to make any difference? It's just 2 days to the election.
That would be very difficult. They can improve it slightly, and also it depends upon how they twist the campaign strategy. But I think it is too late. I mean, 2 days left in the campaign. You haven't got much to do. To be afraid. I'm afraid.
Indeed, we are grateful for your time. But before you go, I'd like to know from you what issues are going to play out here with the elections in two days.
Every by-election is different. And usually by-elections are an opportunity for the voters to really punish the government, usually, if that by-election is being held in the swing areas. But when it's being held in your stronghold, there's nothing really to be read from that.
Right. I'm very grateful for your time, sir, here on the Joy Newsroom. Let's go on the lines now and speak to the NPP's communications director, who is currently standing with our correspondent, Ohimin Terrier there. And so, if you can hear me, let's ask Mr. Ahiagba what his views are on the current situation at Kumawu.
All right, so it's interesting to have Mr. Ahiagba, the National Communications Director of the NPP here. Let me find out from you, the Global Info Analytics survey that puts the NPP's candidates winning this election 56%. As a political party, what does this mean to you and your party?
Well, thank you very much. Our estimate for the election on Tuesday is different from what Global Info Analytics has estimated. They just indicated I have concerns about their work, but on this one, their instinct is in the right direction. Because it's a given that the New Patriotic Party will win this election. As to his estimate, I don't think that's our estimate. We are hoping to win with a much bigger margin, but generally speaking, his instinct is in the right direction.
All right. But one, your political pundits argue that why should this election, for instance, take the presence of the sitting president and the vice president to be campaigning for an area that seems to be so comfortable for you when it comes to elections? This should be a non-starter for the president and the vice president to be campaigning for MPP's candidates, right?
Well, those who say that are those who take voters for granted. We don't. We're interested in making sure that the voters understand that we appreciate what is it they're doing and we don't take them for granted. So we're deploying everything that can be deployed to make sure that we earn the votes. And that's why we're confident that when on Tuesday the vote is counted, we'll be able to win with a bigger margin than is estimated. So for us, it's normal. I mean, I don't see anybody who would say that what is your strength, what your backyard is, you just handle it anyhow. I don't think it shows respect. I don't think it shows appreciation. We want to do the right thing. And I said earlier that, you know, the level of enthusiasm and energy you are seeing in our party constitute the vision of the new leadership of the party you see. So going forward, this is the drive you're going to see the NPP bring to any form of election to make sure we win. And if we're telling you we're breaking the 8 in 2024, it cannot be child's play. We're serious and we're starting from our backyard and we're taking it everywhere else.
This is your electoral word bank. Kumawu is a safe seat for the NPP. Why should this involve the president? Why should this involve the vice president? Well, you know very well that you have the power to win this seat.
Well, the people of Kumawu voted for the president exceedingly, if for nothing at all. And if he comes here to show appreciation to the people of Kumawu, I don't think it's bad. And so, but beyond that, it is for us to show the people that we appreciate them and recognize that they are the sovereign people. They have the mandate and they give it to us, and we want to show them that we appreciate that. So it's important. I am at a loss if anybody thinks that we should just sit at home and have the people vote for us. We have come here to earn the vote, and I can guarantee we'll earn the vote on Tuesday.
Do you see the presence of the independent candidate as a threat to your candidates? Because in the 2020 elections, he polled 11,000, 39% against 56 from the incumbent MP there.
Well, you know, the undoing of the independent candidate started the very day the party united and elected a candidate for this race in the person of NSCR. That's when his undoing happened. He had a chance to actually abandon that cause. You know, he's a party person. And what happened in 2020 was because there were personality clashes in the constituency that led to his emergence. But there is no basis for that anymore. He has no grounds, he has no claim to advance the claim he's making to want to run as an independent candidate. His position is null and void. As a party member, it will be better for him to withdraw from the race and join the ranks of the party to make sure that tomorrow, on Tuesday, we elect NSCR as the party's candidate to represent Kumawu in Parliament. So he's not a threat to us at all. If he knows, if you ask me, and somebody can talk to him, he should take good advice and withdraw from the race, because it's not going to be what he saw in 2020. He's completely going to lose this election. And I think that he would have lost his standing as a party member and the morality that he had in 2020 to be able to canvass for votes the way he did as an independent candidate. He's lost that ground. And I think that if he knows what is good for him politically, he would have withdrawn from the race.
But is it fair to say that with just 3 days to the by-election, somebody who has stood and campaigned on the ground seeking the mandate of the people should withdraw from the race?
Oh, it's a suggestion. I'm not forcing him. I'm not mandating him. I'm just saying that if I were him, that's what I would do. Long before now. But it's not too late. If he has the chance, I think he should do that. Because there is no basis. What happened in 2020, for reasons I told you about personality clashes, there was a basis. But now, that basis has completely been invalidated. The party is standing as one in Kumawu, and so we are moving forward as one party. He needed to join the bandwagon of the New Patriotic Party. If he doesn't want to, it's his call. But if I were him, I would do that. And there's a humble advice, not a force for him to withdraw.
Yes, just this information from the Electoral Commission that the EC has been compelled to change the symbol of the second independent candidate on the notice of poll. What we saw earlier was the two Kwakudias represented by a dove and a falcon, which appears to be confusing the electorates in the constituency. As a party who is going into this poll with all these candidates, what do you make of these happenings ahead of the elections?
Well, the Electoral Commission does its job, we do our job. The New Patriotic Party, our symbol is the elephant, we brought that. We don't have any control over the EC, so they must do their job, we're doing ours.
Thank you. That is Mr. Richard Ahiaba, the National Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, sharing his views on what the party makes of, for instance, the happenings in the constituency ahead of Tuesday's by-elections. He also touched on the fact that as a party, the party care less about the information or news about the Electoral Commission compelling one of the independent candidates to change his symbol. So for now, this has been your reporter, Ohimi Nteria, from the Kumawu constituency. From Kumawu, we'll move to Bodomase and Oyoko to also monitor what is happening in the camp of the National Democratic Congress and that of the two independent candidates. Maame.
Very grateful, Ohimi Nteria, with our sister station, Love FM in Kumasi, as it promises to be very interesting. There we'll be bringing you updates on what happens. And away from that, the government's quest to digitalize and transition the education sector into an electronic learning platform is fast gaining momentum as stakeholders commence a regional consultative dialogue on digital and electronic learning. The regional meetings are to consolidate efforts and ideas to complement the traditional brick-and-mortar form of education with hopes of introducing an e-learning platform in the coming year. Now, Executive Director of the Center for National Distance Learning and Open Schooling, Nana Jemfi Adriabo, says the country's education system is ready for the incorporation of hybrid teaching and learning. There's more in this report.
Ghana's educational system was derailed following the emergence of COVID-19 pandemic, forcing many students, especially public basic schools, to stay out of class for nearly a year. The situation hampered the progress of academic activities, necessitating the introduction of a virtual learning platform. Stakeholders in the educational sector and telecommunication service providers have been dialoguing at a regional integration program on online digital and electronic learning, beginning in the Ashanti region. The exercise is to formally and completely transform Ghana's education system. Executive Director of CENLOS, Nana Jemfi Adriabo, says policies and other resources are being instituted to hybridize the educational sector.
When you talk about technology in education, certain things has to be in place before you can think of entirely even moving your education from the traditional setup to online. You need to look at policies, you need to look at infrastructure, you need to look at content, you need to look at capacity building, you need to look at assessment, you need to look at curriculum. All these has to be in place before you can say that, yes, I am moving totally to online. Now Ghana, I will say that we are ready for hybrid now.
Currently, the Ministry of Education, through the initiative, is running both online and offline learning and teaching platforms via its iBox and iCampus GH. Consultant at Sendelos, Dr. Kofi Sapon, says the new national framework would afford the youth access to degree programs online.
This framework is going to be an integrated platform which will fully be deployed for young people in Ghana to enroll on and learn without classroom space. So they will learn right from attain their degrees purely online. They will not need to go to a classroom. They may not even have seen their teachers before. All what they are going to do, they are going to do their teaching, they are going to have their assessment, they are going to have their courses, everything fully integrated on the platform.
Goal 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals provides an inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning opportunities for all. UNESCO representative in Ghana, Abdul Rahman Diallo, assures of an all-inclusive e-learning policy.
The objective is the inclusion, equity, inclusion for all, and all means for all. So whatever we develop at the global, national, or regional level is to ensure that each beneficiary's specificities are to be taken into account. So that's why within the framework also of the responses for ICT in education, we have to ensure that they are tailored products for disabled person.
STEM policy advisor at the Ministry of Education, Professor Makadoma Samoa, is emphasizing on resources for sustainability of the program.
We want to make sure that we will have the resources to continue to do the things that we do all the time. We also want to ensure that we have teachers who have been trained well so that there will be no short supply of teachers. We want to make sure that we have the digital devices, and in addition to the digital devices, we also have data to be able to undertake all this.
The national policy meeting is expected to be replicated across the 16 regions of the country. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
We'll be back with more stories after this break. Welcome back. We'll go back to Kumawu, where there's more happening in the NDC camp. Joining us now is the Regional Communications Officer of the NDC, Dr. Frank Amoakohene, who will be bringing us the latest in the NDC camp. Mr. Amoakohene, Dr. Amoakohene, I beg your pardon, with just 2 days to the election, if you can tell us the preparations in the NDC camp.
Thank you. So, I am the National Secretary for the NDC in the Ashanti region. And we are on ground at Kumawu, working very hard to bring victory, God willing, on Tuesday. And we are wrapping up the campaign today. You know, according to the EC, a day to election, there shouldn't be campaign activity. And I can tell you in confidence that it will take a miracle for any other candidate to win this election apart from Kusia Mankwa, who is the NDC candidate for this election. And I say so because the reception of his message and his candidature is epic. It's historic. And as far as my experience in the region is concerned, this is the first time we've had such momentum gathered for an NDC candidate in the constituency. And it is based on the input the party has made, the development the party has brought to the people of Kumawu, counting their roads, counting their hospital, their water projects, among other interventions, their markets in the constituency. And one key thing for us is that at least we have indigents from the constituency that we have promoted in our government. We have given opportunity to serve the country, who are leading the campaign for us in the constituency. We had the former president, John Dramani Mahama, coming down to help with the retail campaign. We still have the national chairman on the field, the national general secretary, the national organizer all on the field. And a former finance minister and a former governor of the Bank of Ghana who is an indigene of Kumawu, also leading the charge for us as far as this campaign is concerned, Dr. Komunadufo, using himself as an example of the ties NPP has with the people of Kumawu. Because as you speak now, our counterparts on the other side don't even have a former minister to even show that this is someone who is promoted so far as the constituency is concerned. They don't appoint people from the constituency, neither do they even bring development to the constituency. But at least for us, and for the appointments we have made for the constituency, through them we are able to get the Kumawu Water Project, we are able to get the Kumawu Hospital, we are able to get the Kumawu Dobonso Road, Kumawu Agugu Road, all by the fact that we had a former finance minister coming from that constituency. So I mean, the achievement of the NDC is evident, in fact, and it surpasses all other competitors in this election. And we are so hopeful that come Tuesday, we're going to see victory as far as this election is concerned.
Well, Dr. Frank Amoakohene, before you leave, there's this research from the Global Info Analytics predicting a loss for your candidate. What do you make of that research?
No research surpasses the reality. And for us, the reality is not far from it. It's just Tuesday. So whatever research findings that is out there would only be either confirmed or disputed after Tuesday. So we are really not paying attention to this kind of research here and there. We believe that the work is on the ground, and we are on the ground, and we would want to discuss the reality at the end of the contest on Tuesday, rather than having to either be comforted by a research findings or be saddened by a research findings. So we are only focused on making sure we deliver our target as far as Tuesday is concerned. And we will have time to just oppose the results with whichever predictions that came before the election.
We're grateful, Dr. Frank Amoakohene, Ashanti Regional Secretary of the NDC. Now moving on, President Akufo-Addo is urging personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces serving in Guinea-Bissau to maintain the highest level of professionalism in the discharge of their duties. Now, the purpose of the President's visit to the Ghanaian contingent was to assess at first hand the well-being of the troops and how the unit has effectively carried out its mission and tasks since its insertion into the operational area in June 2022. We'll be hearing from him shortly, but first, Combat Team Commander Lieutenant Colonel David Kosa says the unit is well aware of its role and will live up to expectation.
Mr. President, your visit today is a historic visit and a memorable one indeed. Your visit to the gallant officers and soldiers of the Ghanaian contingent of the ECOWAS Stabilization Support Mission is historic and memorable because of three reasons. Firstly, knowing your track record, it demonstrates and affirms your firm commitment to constitutional democracy, thus having sent us here on this very special, important mission back in June last year. You have followed up to see the progress we have made and also to encourage us to continue with the hard work we are doing. Secondly, it demonstrates the confidence you have reposed in the military hierarchy and personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces. And last but not least, Mr. President, I can also confidently boast that throughout my 18 years career as a military officer and even the 28 years of the oldest serving member of the contingent, this is the first time we are having a commander-in-chief visiting personnel on an external operation in the field. Can we give a big round of applause to that? Mr. President, we are highly honored and privileged to be part of today's history. And we want to assure you that as our Commander-in-Chief, we will continue to remain loyal and make you proud. Furthermore, we want to assure you that we shall continue to wear the Ghana flag with pride and lift Ghana's image higher, not only as gallant soldiers of the Ghana Armed Forces, but also as worthy ambassadors of our great country, in order to make you proud as our Commander-in-Chief. Mr. President, in the spirit of the motto and slogan of the contingent, I wish to say that we shall remain determined and disciplined, resolute and agile, and be ever ready to protect and defend the tenets of constitutional democracy.
Well, the small West African country Guinea-Bissau has experienced instability since independence from Portugal in 1974, marked by coups, assassinations and civil war. Last year, the country's security forces averted a coup. President Akufo-Addo urged the Ghanaian troops to adhere strictly to the rules of engagement governing their operations in the country.
I remember last year when I had to take the decision to commit you to this mission, and I had some hesitation because of the difficulties involved in the exercise. But I was also fortified by the fact that the Ghana Armed Forces has a very, very commendable reputation in peacekeeping operations around the world. And I knew that those who I would send here would maintain that reputation and even raise it higher. On my arrival here, and I spoke to the president, and I asked him how you were doing. He was full of commendation for you. And I want to thank you for keeping high.
Now, Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Saleh has called on the Northern Development Authority to see the regional coordinating councils in the operational areas as their partners. He says the various regional coordinating councils have existed for long and in a better position to help them surmount any challenge they may be facing. Speaking to the new Chief Executive Officer of the NDA, lawyer Sule Sambian, who called on him at his office, he stated that the new chief executive and his two deputies have no reason to fail. Join his Upper West Regional correspondent, Rafiq Salam, reports.
The Northern Development Authority, NDA, under its Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Project, IPEP, has awarded 126 projects in the Upper West region to various contractors for execution. 44 of the projects have so far been completed by the contractors. Since his appointment as the Chief Executive Officer of the NDA, Lawyer Sule Sambian's main objective is to ensure that all 126 projects are completed and handed over to the people for use. After a successful tour of the Savannah region, where he commissioned some completed projects, Lawyer Sule Sambian turned to the Upper West region to continue his mission. At Zage, in the Jiriba municipality, he commissioned a furnished 3-unit classroom block for the community. Lawyer Sambian noted that despite a plethora of projects initiated and completed by the NPP government, very little is known of them, who the latter needs to trumpet on to bring to the attention of the people.
The contract sum for this project was about 450,000 cedis. And as you can see, it's been furnished. We are now trying to pull electricity into the classrooms. It's a beautiful edifice, I must say. And I must also add that there's so much of the story of the NPP that we have not been able to tell. I can say that out of about 126 projects that were awarded in this region, about 44 of them have been completed. 44, but that story has never been told. Nobody.
And now for your events such as weddings, book launch or birthday parties, you definitely need an MC to make the event successful. Some persons say a good MC can turn a boring event into an exciting one. What role masters of ceremonies play in making your events very memorable? Well, some of the Ghana's finest MCs like Nathaniel Ato, Jerry Ajololu, Anita Eskin, Kabate Okanze, popularly known as Kabate My MC, have been discussing the art and craft of MCing on Showbiz A to Z with Kwame Dadzi.
The client heartbeat is to ensure that everybody sitting in the audience is aptly informed, is fully entertained if that is what is required, but also that the person that is holding the microphone, who is ultimately the spokesperson of the event, that is the MC, is able to start the event and finish it without any kind of extraordinarily out of control event as much as possible, but bringing it to a very successful finish.
It depends on the demand or what the event organizer or the originator of the event is looking for. If the originator of the event says we're having a 40th birthday party and today we just want to let our heads down, we don't have a dress code, we're just coming in there, give us good music on the bandstand, play some very good music on the DJ's console or the turntable as well, and let's laugh, then you can have a comedian who is good at steering events from the start to the finish. Because you see, being a comedian alone is not enough to make you a qualified person to MC.
Sometimes it's very easy to focus and make the conversation about should you be funny or have be a comedic person in an event. I think we should broaden it. You can ask a much broader question and get a more useful feedback, which is what level of engagement is required for the specific event that you are hosting. Okay, so definitely there is value in having the gift of comedy for a particular type of event.
Okay.
And even for that, it may not necessarily be for the entire event. It would have sections and modes within the event that would be an asset. So I always say that a good MC would harness on whatever their personal gifts are, in terms of talent, which would then add value to the event.
What are the traits that make for a good MC? Number one, it depends on the platform. If it's a corporate environment, the person must be orderly, the person must be knowledgeable, the person must understand the environment that they are going to. So you can't bring a comedian to a very corporate environment. We're doing Ghana Bankers Conference, and you bring a comedian. Number one, does he understand anything about that industry? I doubt. Number two, can he show mastery? In terms of even language, the jargons, the lexicons, and then his personal traits as a person, do they fit into that environment? So that is one part. When you go to the social side of things, when people go to social events, number one, to just let their head down and just have a good time, as opposed to very corporate environments. So in those spaces too, you need somebody who is spontaneous, somebody who has a good sense of humor, somebody who is also orderly and has a good sense of emotional intelligence, can read the room and say that, okay, this is required at this time. So in a nutshell, I would say traits do matter, but they are best harnessed or they are best utilized when the right environment is in place.
It's all about getting people excited, getting them to throw their hands in the air, getting them to respond. And it is also about activating brands, that engage us. So for myself, I have worked with great brands like MTN, like Guinness. I'm in a contract with Guinness, traveling across the country to do the Guinness Bride House. What do they expect? They want to engage audiences. They want to interface and get their products to audiences. And they don't want to see these people in a bad mood, because when that happens, you're not able to transform or transcend the message that you have to these audiences.
And on that MC note, we bring it to the end of this bulletin. I am Maame Thompson. There's more news on myjoyonline.com and on all our social media platforms. Have a good afternoon.